have our personal beliefs about what we believe is right and proper to say, and my personal beliefs don't allow me to think, feel, or say things that are pejorative based on somebody's, racial background, their sexual orientation, or their gender, or whatever. That's how I think, feel, and act. But it's different when it's your personal opinion and when it's sort of become this imposed thing that suppresses freedom of speech. That is the politically correct, thing. And I think anybody in that situation would be feeling that kind of weight of political correctness, and you might start to self-censor yourself. It's possible.
Part of that, I think that point that you're making about political correctness is probably part of the reason why 4 of the Republican candidates didn't show up last night. I mean, Tavis Smiley said something at the beginning of the intro of the debate, and I'm paraphrasing him, but something like the campaigns of the 4 candidates who didn't show up had said publicly that they were worried that the audience would not be open to them being there, or that the audience might be hostile towards them. And I think that they weighed the what they perceived as the pros and cons of showing up, and felt like this particular segment of the population is probably not going to vote for them anyway, and they fear that some clip is going to be taken from this debate and make the rounds through the media and on the internet of them accidentally saying the wrong thing and being booed or heckled by the audience.
Sure. Which was almost guaranteed to happen for a lot of those guys. And
Right.
And I think actually maybe that's what it is. You touched on what I think might have been my letdown in a sense. Not so much a disappointment, but so let down in a sense that what I was excited about when I found out that, this is an African-American thing, I was excited about because what I've seen in just, my life and in my work, in the campaign, and just the vibe I'm getting is, in fact, large numbers of African-Americans are actually turning on to Ron Paul. Now, the precise reason for it I don't claim to understand or have a real handle on, but that actually is very exciting and very interesting. And I was like, maybe tonight's the night that he could really make a breakout in the African-American community, and wouldn't that be a big plus for the campaign? And I guess I was sort of looking for that, and maybe it did happen, and I'm not getting it. You know what I'm saying? But, Mark, let's do this. Let me go ahead and try to play another clip. Now, we just switched over to a new audio production system here, and we don't have the telephone integrated into it yet. So I think that, and I hope that they're listening there at bbsradio.com, I think that you will be able to hear the clip on the phone as I play it, though I could be wrong about that. But I am going to go ahead and try to play another clip here, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it, and then we'll chat about it. Okay, so I'm going to put the phone down and play the clip, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Okay. Here it goes.
I would like to believe that if we have a freer society, it will take care of blacks and whites and everybody equally, because we're all individuals, and to me that is so important. But if we had equal justice under the law, I think it would be a big improvement. If we had probably a repeal of most of the federal laws on drugs and the unfairness on how blacks are treated with these drug laws, it would be a tremendous improvement. And also, I think that if you're going to have prosperity, it serves everybody. And if this is done by emphasizing property rights and freedom of the individuals, making sure that the powerful special interests don't control Washington, that the military-industrial complex doesn't suck away all the wealth of the country, and then we will have prosperity. This is what we need, and we need to share it. The free society is the only society that can provide goods and services and distribute them in the most fair manner. And that is the society that I would advocate and argue for and believe it's available to us.
Thank you, sir. Senator Brownback.
That was another clip from Ron Paul, and it actually kind of illustrated some of the points that I was making. You know, it was earlier on in the debate, and I think he was just kind of like sort of getting his feet on the ground, and then later on, I felt like he kind of found his feet on the floor, And I think he really hit stride with the discussion on the war on drugs. And I remember being around, I worked in a social service type of a setting back in the early days of the war on drugs. It was a primarily Hispanic but somewhat African American community in Boston. And a lot of people were very in favor, of the war on drugs because drugs were just destroying the community. It was really horrible. And this was in the days of where the drive-by shooting became a daily event and all of that, and the crack cocaine, and so people, there was kind of like a split. Some people were like, yeah, we need the police in here. Why aren't they doing anything? We need more police. Build another police station. Put up those cameras in the public places so that they can surveil these drug dealers and bust them. Whatever you've got to do, do it. We've got to stop these people, or community watch and drop a dime and all of this stuff. And then there were other people that felt like the war on drugs was, kind of worse than the solution. And it was criminalizing the Hispanic and African American populations and discriminating against them. And you had this real divide in the community over that. And I don't know what the thermometer is on that in the urban settings at this point, whether people have finally got the message that the war on drugs is, far worse than the drugs themselves, and that perhaps if, as Ron Paul, I believe he indicated in the debate, if I'm not mistaken, that, why, oh yes he did, as a matter of fact, that drugs ought to be legalized or decriminalized, and that would be the solution to the whole drug issue, not further police enforcement and wasting another $40 billion or whatever it is that we've spent on the war on drugs. I think he did hit a home run on that one.
Well, the audience live really agreed with his point there. I think you're right. I think he did hit a home run there, and he made his point well and clearly. And yes, it seemed from the reaction last night that the large amount of that particular audience have come around on the war on drugs and definitely agreed with his point. And I was surprised that to hear Mike Huckabee make a similar point, not something I would have expected from him. He didn't. He sort of was a little more restrained in his answer, but also thought that that there should be our prisons should be for violent offenders and not for drug users, and that got a good reaction from the crowd too. Maybe the country as a whole is coming around more than we realize in terms of the failed war on drugs, and are finally starting to see that all this tough talk about go out and grab them and throw them all in jail that we've been hearing for decades really hasn't amounted to any success. And also, I think the idea of rehabilitation, just in general, as opposed to prison time, has permeated the culture a little more and resonates with a lot more Americans than it used to. Whether that's done through the government or individually, but that rehabilitation is the right way to go. Yes,
absolutely, and I think you may be right. I mean, you may be right that hey, it's been 20 years of this war on drugs, and what do we got? More drugs, What do we got? More prisons, more crime. Obviously, anytime the government has a war on something, it only makes it worse. We had a war on poverty, more poverty. We had a war on illiteracy. We've been dumbed down to the point of just ridiculousness at this point. And I think that the same is going to be held true of the war on terrorism, So the war on terrorism is doing what? It's creating more terrorism. So that's the situation that we got right now. And I think that a little bit later on in the debate, there was the issue of Darfur that came up. If I'm not mistaken, and he did. I think that there was the opportunity, certainly, to pander there and say that we're going to intervene in Darfur and